So Gesture of the Piece, I was a full-time wedding officiant for 10 years and married 550 couples. And the name Gesture of the Piece, because I was already a clown theater artist, and a dear friend of mine, Michael Coran, said to me, well, you're a clown. You're doing weddings. You should be the jester of the piece as opposed to the justice of the piece. And I thought, what a wordsmith. So brilliant. I'll take it. So thank you, Michael, for that. And then when I stopped being a full-time wedding officiant and embraced also being a full-time artist, creating experiences. So I'm a performance artist. I create experiences in which you express yourself and you feel adored. It's very interactive. Gesture of the Piece still fits. It means using humor, which I do, Gesture, for peace, humanitarian aims, because my ultimate goal as an artist is for people to be seen, heard, and celebrated. Because when people feel seen, heard, and celebrated, we want to make good altruistic decisions that include other people because we feel good. And if we don't feel, so if someone doesn't feel truly seen, truly heard, or truly celebrated somewhere in life, this is when decisions get made where someone's hurting themselves, hurting other people because of that. So this emotional baseline is what it's all about.
And also distancing, detaching from the past and perhaps seeing some humor. The reframe is one of the golden tools. So my philosophy is that humor is the most powerful, most underappreciated form of healing that there is. Because look at what happens when we are laughing. We laugh. Oh my God, I laughed until what? I laughed until I cried. It's like the epitome of laughter is tears. And so what's the epitome of tears? I cried and I cried and I cried and I cried and I cried. And then I knew I was going to be okay the first time I laughed. So humor is really the harbinger of healing, and it's very powerful. Another very dear friend of mine, who's a filmmaker, a writer, and director, Mark Milhone, he says, there are moments that are so intense that only humor has the power to meet the moment. And I stand by that. I would believe it. I can tell you that when my dad died, it was very sad. I mean, we loved him. It was for the best and everything. But I'll tell you, the funniest thing, my brother, he was going to be buried with the ashes spread, and he was going to be on a mountain. My dad lived in Arizona. And my brother said, what mountain? Because I don't want to step all over Dad. And we just couldn't stop laughing. Yeah. I can imagine. And, you're so right, because in that moment of all of us just losing someone we love so much, we could actually laugh and thank. And that's.
Yeah. Well, and humor and tears serve the same purpose. Humor and tears both create space. So they're both cathartic. I laughed, and then I could listen. I cried and cried and cried, and then I could listen. And there's this opportunity for connection. And I also believe that, and this is one of the reasons why I create artwork in the way that I do, when people experience more than one emotional tone in an experience, then that experience is transformational. So if something's funny, oh, it was so funny. If it's poignant, oh, it was so poignant. So it could be funny or it could be poignant, but it might not change us. But the more often the experiences that change us are, oh, I laughed, I cried. And when I laughed, I cried, I changed, I laughed, I cried, I transformed, because going through more than one emotional tone is a full emotional cycle. And that's when we move forward.
And that is so powerful for all of us to hear, that there's always hope. You said art. You said the word, you create your art. Can you go into a little bit of detail? Because when I sometimes think of art, I think of a painting or pottery.
Yep. Yeah. Most people, when you think, I'll say, I'm an artist. People say, do you draw? And I just right in this moment, Jody, thanks to you, came up with, no, I don't draw, but I draw you out. I just invented that right now.
I love that. I love it.
So I'm an improvisational theater artist. I'm a clown theater artist. A lot of the times in the United States, if I say clown, people see a birthday party and balloon animals and face painting. And balloon animals and face painting are not the clown art form. Those are visual arts. The humor, the bringing levity to the challenges of life is the clown art form. It's one of the most vulnerable healing art forms I've ever come across. And so, we're all trying to look good, or we're all trying to pretend that everything's okay, or we're all like just trying to figure out how to plug up the hole in the water that's leaking, or whatever it is that we're trying to do. Or we're all angry, we're all happy, we all go through, all humans contain every possible human experience. And bringing humor to that is what brings sanity to the process of being human, in my view. So my artwork, which is experiential, I am creating a situation, and it's a humorous situation. It's very easy to join, whereby you participate and you feel seen. You feel appreciated, you feel known, you feel adored and championed, really. So some examples of that are, everything that I've done professionally, I've turned into art one way or another. So I was doing wedding ceremonies, and then I started marrying people to themselves in the street. And I've done a whole bunch of different street projects. And then I started marrying people to other things that they care about that have gone unacknowledged. Many people have a lifelong unacknowledged devotion to coffee. It's one of many examples. But I've married people to their creativity, their sexuality, their conception of the divine, the town of East Hampton, thinly sliced Nova. I mean, it's like anything that someone loves. Friends, marrying friends. And we're not talking legal ceremonies or even pretending that. What we're talking about is a playful and serious way to acknowledge the things that we care about that maybe have gone unappreciated, that are important to us. And
yes.
Yeah.
No, go on, please.
Yeah. And so sometimes people will come to me because I do very playful things. I mean, I also have a project where I'll vote for you to be president of whatever you want. And people have been voted to be everything from president of peace to pretzels to free food for children to support for kids with disabilities to anything. People are president of everything that they care about. So I'll create a playful situation that makes room for a lot of sharing. So if I create a serious situation, people hold back and think. If I create a humorous situation, people lean in and share before they even realize it. So a fun example of that is I was at the Figment Arts Festival on Governor's Island performing the wedding piece, which is called Gesture of the Peace. And a woman came up to me, she was laughing. She was like, "Oh, Gesture of the Peace, oh, that's so funny. I'm gonna marry this can of soda." Just this can of soda, she was carrying it as if it was gonna be meaningless. So one of my secret sauce, special skill, superpowers is finding instantaneous deep meaning in something in anything really, and also in helping people open up. I'll often say that I can become someone's instant best friend just because I'm creating a space where people feel adored. So within a few minutes, this can of soda, she's like, "Oh, Mary, can of soda, whatever," had come to represent her bubbly friends. So when she feels personally flat, she can drink in her bubbly friends and be restored to a good spirit. Now, she wasn't expecting that, but she walked away with it. And so part of the purpose of these pieces, and sometimes they're in the street, they might be in a theater, they might be at a gala or a board retreat or at a corporate event, or whatever it's going to be. I'm really open to where these things happen, because anytime people are gathered, they need to connect. It's designed so that people who really need to have a serious experience right now, like someone who wants to be voted in to be president of the environment and want to give a whole speech on it and care about it so deeply, or people who want to be president of Skittles, whatever someone needs emotionally in that moment, they can lean into that, but come away with something that was more meaningful than they anticipated. And that's part of my secret sauce as a longtime improviser, because improvisation is about meeting people in the moment and taking the experience somewhere.
This is so wonderful. And when you said about the marriage, it reminded me about how marriage is actually giving a legal power, an uplifting, so to speak, I mean, technically, to two people living together. And you are doing exactly the same. You are uplifting people. You're saying you're now married to yourself. You are married to the dream of yourself. And it is an uplifting rather than here you go again. I mean, it's a very special way to feel. And I know people might think, oh, come on, but still this is, and I think that everybody listening can think about using the word, what could you marry? What could you uplift? What could you what could you look at even in a candy bar? I mean, maybe that candy bar is just hope for them.
Yeah, whatever it's going to turn out to represent. You know, I'm like the queen of metaphors. So Jody, I'm looking for the next president, and I can tell that it's you. You know, the way that you hold people's space, the way you want to honor people, it's just really extraordinary. So if you were going to be president of anything today, Jody, what would you be president of?
Interviewing.
The president of interviewing? How extraordinary. Okay, Jody, what is the first thing that you would do when you get into office as president of interviewing? What would be your very first presidential action?
Uplift everybody and anyone who has ever felt lack of confidence and not being seen.
Okay. So Jody, you are running for president of interviewing based on a platform of uplifting anyone, anywhere who's never been seen and who's never felt that sunshine on them. Jody, I am voting for you. I am absolutely voting for you. Are you voting for yourself?
Yeah, that makes two. Did I win?
Jody, do you know what this means?
No.
It's unanimous. It's unanimous. You win.
I win. I'm president.
You win. Will you please give us your acceptance speech?
I now accept the holy office of president. And muchas gracias. I'll do it in Spanish too. Lo acepto esta posición de presidente con honor. I accept it with honor. Thank you very much for uplifting me and allowing me to be president. That, and you know what's funny is when you were talking, I was thinking about that.
Yeah.
You read my mind.
Right. So did you feel yourself sit up just a little bit straighter because you won?
Even being nominated.
Yeah.
You know, really.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I know.
it's a great feeling. And that, would you like to speak about when you had talked about like your daily challenges at all?
Sure. Yeah.
Because I think that's really powerful.
Yeah. So, I mean, what you just experienced is a very playful structure that contains the ability for you. Just revealed how much it means to you to uplift people in these interviews, and that you are unstoppable about finding people wherever they are to be uplifted if they've never been seen. And I do my artwork for a very related reason. And you and I are, you know, soul sisters on this path. So what I've noticed, so I'm going to say two things. I do this also because I'm leveraging community witness ritual. Human beings mark time through ritual. If people go and elope, their families get upset because they didn't really get married. If someone graduates and they don't go to their ceremony, it's almost like it didn't happen. Humans need, I'm drawing on familiar rituals that have a lot of import, like weddings, like the election, and other kinds of things too, to capitalize on that, on the import that people already bring those things to bring us into a joyful and expressed state. So is that art? Is that spiritual leadership? This is the issue that I've run into when I'm a minister, and I'm an interfaith minister, meaning I've been to interfaith seminary and I'm not a member of any particular faith. I exist where they all come together, which is equals love at the center, according to me. I've stopped looking for validation from either of these communities, because what I've discovered is that I need to define my own space. So I've created, and am in the process of creating, the House of Holy Humor, which is a more secular facing congregation for the humor arts. And the pillars of the House of Holy Humor are art and love and humor, or creativity, love, and humor, because those are the three tools that have restored me to sanity every time I've felt not sane, or every time I've felt myself spinning around, or felt separate, or felt depressed, or whatever I've felt along my journey of human life. Those are the tools: art, creativity, love, and humor. And those are the three founding pillars of the House of Holy Humor. And underneath this umbrella, everything I do fits. All the street art, all the ceremonies, and the Gesture of the Peace ceremonies, and the president one that you just experienced, these are rituals. What do spiritual organizations do? They create rituals. It's a movement. It's a humor movement, a humor for well-being movement.